Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Nick Geo. My latest travels saw me in the beautiful country of Georgia, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into the trip. Currently sitting in the Athens airport waiting to board the flight to Tbilisi. I did have a little bit of time in Athens today, but it was only a short layover flight, so I couldn't really justify making anything on it. However, there was a lot of really cool stuff to see, and I got a lot of awesome pictures. Absolutely recommend taking the Acropolis tour. It looks like, just like on the flight to Athens, I've actually got the entire load to myself, so maybe I can get a couple more hours of sleep. And now that we've gotten through customs, I have my rental car. This is the first time I've driven manual in probably 2 years, but I think it'll come back to me just fine. It's about 5 a.m. here in Tbilisi, and we're basically gonna get going. I have one night here before we go off into the mountains a little bit, and then I'll have some time at the end of the trip to spend several days in Tbilisi. But for now, I'm very tired, so I'm basically just going to spend whatever time I can to see some stuff, and then once I get my Airbnb and some dinner, I'm probably going to sleep for a very long time. Also, I really like this Georgian music. It's still very early, and I finally found some juice to keep me going. Finally found an ATM as well. I think I'm gonna go check out the Chronicles of Georgia. It seems that that's open 24 hours a day, and it's not too far from the city, and it'll occupy some of my time. So let's go check that out. I think it's finally light enough to go check this thing out, and apparently when you come this early in the morning, there's a lot fewer people here, which is nice. Granted, that wasn't completely on purpose, but I'm definitely not complaining. Anyway, even from down here, it looks pretty sweet. It very much has that Soviet aesthetic to it, considering it was started in the 1980s. We'll go get a closer look at this. Yeah, I gotta say, these videos definitely don't do it justice. These pillars are way larger than you would think. And actually, as a little bonus, if you look around here, you get a really nice view of Tbilisi from behind. I actually read before I came up here that this is actually incomplete, and apparently the person who designed it actually just died this year in 2025. Also, there are a lot of stray dogs that wander around Georgia, and apparently people take care of them. Oh, okay, a little shy. Here we are at the very top. Like I said, I really don't think the camera can show just how huge these pillars are. These were built to represent the 2,000 years of Christianity in Georgia, and then the 3,000 years of Georgia's existence. Once again, the higher up you go, the more beautiful it looks in the backdrop too. And of course, I had to get up close to the church, and I'm really glad I did, if not just for that, but also the backdrop of the mountains. And you can see even more of the city behind it. Obviously, you've got a lot of Soviet architecture over here. Very brutalist, minimalist, meant to house a large population very quickly. Looks like I got a drone above me. The Chronicles of Georgia were designed by Zurab Tsereteli, who was known for a lot of art pieces in the similar vein. Construction mainly ran from 1985 to 2003, but has only recently neared completion. It's sometimes referred to as Tbilisi's Stonehenge and sits atop Kini Hill. There are a total of 16 pillars at about 35 meters high, all wrapped with different sculptures. They depict Georgian history, with some including different monarchs and artists, as well as a full depiction of Jesus Christ's life. It's free to visit with no gates, and it's open 24/7. In fact, at night they light up with a nice golden hue. The Annunciation Church is the small Orthodox church I mentioned, and the stairs along the side give the best views of Tbilisi. You can also see the Tbilisi Sea, which is a popular spot during the hot summertime months, specifically Temka Beach. This is actually a man-made reservoir opened in 1953, still being a popular recreational spot as intended to this day. It was too cold for me to swim, however, since it was late September. It's actually a little bit colder than I was expecting, so I had to run back and get a flannel. But it seems like there's some trails that go around the entire area that I'm going to take a look at and walk around. In fact, as I get further out here, it looks like there's trails that go really far. I mean, you can see down here, there's a bit of a track area, and I think it actually connects all the way back to here. As you can see from way out here, you can actually tell just how much this thing towers over everything. It's also easier to gain an understanding of just how big this city is as you make your way out here to this little trail. I mean, look at that. It goes and goes and goes way out into here. In fact, I think out there is where you'll find the historic district. We just can't really see any of that because A, it's far away, and B, it's a little foggy. Down here at what appears to be the end, there's actually another little older looking artifact here. And it seems as well that there's a trail that leads kind of back to the monument. I know I saw one earlier. Okay, no extra trail to get back, but I did wander off a little bit, and there is definitely a lot more to explore over here. Probably be good if I soon make my way back. I should be able to check into my Airbnb soon, and we can get a good look at what that looks like. Looks like as we get closer to lunchtime, more and more people are going to make their way up. People are starting to set up their souvenir stands, and it looks like at some point some food will open, so I see no better time than to relax a little bit and read before I make my way back. And after getting the check-in instructions, here's the inside of the Airbnb. We'll only be here for one night, but you know, basic, covers all your needs. Another one of these, no curtain old school Soviet showers. I only know that because of the place I stayed in Romania. Looks like a small kitchen area over here, sink, small stove with a fridge, and of course, when they say double bed, they meant literal double beds, not a single double bed. Okay, got showered and changed, and I don't have a lot of energy left in me, but I'm definitely ready to go out there and find some Georgian food. And also, something I just noticed, one of my favorite whiskeys here. I don't know if it's complimentary or not, but I am absolutely going to be getting to the bottom of this. Not the bottom of the bottle, like the bottom of if it's complimentary, you know what I mean. Walking to find some place to eat. This is the street that I'm staying on, known as Maxim Gorky Street, which is kind of cool, named after the famous poet. And to close off the first day in Georgia, I'm going to have a little bit of traditional Georgian cuisine. These are katkeli, which is basically beef dumplings, but in a very unique style, twisted up like this. And then this is a little more self-explanatory, but uses some very unique spices. Cannot wait to dig in. Well, today was very much more of a first impression day and getting a small taste of Tbilisi, but honestly, most of it was pretty much about that monument I went to earlier. Chronicles of Georgia was definitely the highlight of the day, and the food was very good, but there is way more to the city that we're going to find out about a little later, because we're looping back to it at the end of this trip. Tomorrow morning, we will head up towards Kazbegi or Stepan Smirda on the military highway. As for now, I need about 15 hours of sleep. So because I woke up so early, I've actually been awake for like 4 hours and it's only 7:30 in the morning. So what better time than now than to try another energy drink I've never had called Spar. Let's give it a shot. Just as I suspected. Tastes just like Red Bull, except maybe a little more bitter. Anywho, today we are on our way to Kazbegi and all of the military road sites, but I'm going to start with one in Tbilisi as well because it's early, and that's going to be the Holy Trinity Cathedral. I think that's what it's called. Stick around to find out. And then Turtle Lake, and then we'll head our way into the mountains. Wow, just pulling in here, you can see the sheer size of this. I guess the name of the game in Georgia is the bigger the better. Between the monument from yesterday and now this, I definitely want to go up and get a closer look at this. Looks like I was correct. It is indeed called the Tbilisi Holy Trinity Cathedral. It's the main Orthodox church in Georgia, built on Elia Hill between 1995 and 2004. It's also the largest church in Georgia, and according to my notes, the third largest Orthodox cathedral in the world, able to hold 15,000 people. The architect was Archie Mindiashvili, and while the idea dates back to the 80s, political upheaval in the 90s delayed its foundation until 1995. Known locally as Sameba, you can always see this towering figure along the central city skyline on a clear day or night. Its style combines 10th century Georgian traditional flares mixed with a Byzantine feel, and there is all sorts of space around the property to walk around and truly take in the wonders. This includes an Armenian pantheon, stone pillars at the entrance, as well as fountains and gardens all over the place. It is free to enter, but be aware of certain dress codes, which is common for most holy buildings in Georgia. I got to look inside as well, and being in here truly felt otherworldly. You can see the iconostasis, the Hope of Georgia icon, and light votive candles before saying a prayer. I often don't partake, as I sometimes feel I have no business doing so, but the clergyman was somewhat insistent, and it was a neat part of the experience. Decided to make a little stop at Turtle Lake, and just a forewarning in case you ever plan on driving here. Driving is absolutely insane. I mean, there are pretty much no driving lanes, and if they are, they're pretty much ignored. If you need to get over, you need to just decide to get over. You can't wait for someone to let you, or else you will never get over. It's gotta be aggressive, and that just seems to be the way it is here. It gets very traffically in downtown Tbilisi, but just wanted to put that out there. This is some of the most stressful driving ever. The road infrastructure itself is fine, but man. I didn't spend a lot of time at Turtle Lake. It was mostly just a park up into the woods, located on Matatsminda Ridge, worth taking a stroll around before moving on. So I stopped at a place to eat on the way on the military highway. This is something called chiket merta, which is a traditional soup typically made with egg and chicken broth. And this one has actual chicken in it, and it goes really well with bread. And then here we have a Georgian sausage known as kaputsi. As you can see, it's still sizzling hot. I made it to the first stop, known as Ananuri Complex, which is basically a 13th century era castle complex, probably about 45 miles outside of Tbilisi. So let's go take a look at this. Looks like I was incorrect. This fortified complex was actually primarily built in the 17th century, but the watchtower specifically can go back to the 15th century. You'll find this along the military road, off the left bank of the Aragvi River. It includes several churches surrounded by a circuit wall and turrets. Under the Church of the Virgin are buried some of the Dukes of Aragvi, and the Church of Assumption has a lot of artistic facades. 17th and 18th century wall paintings show the 13 Assyrian fathers, and the bell towers and Svanetian pyramid roofs give it a very distinct feel. This is today a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And I actually just discovered that you can climb up kind of high here, and this looks absolutely beautiful and stunning from the top. A little bit of a scary pathway to get up here, but if you're careful, you'll be fine. Also, you can go in a little area over here. However, I'm not going to attempt that. According to my map, it looks like right about here is where the black and white parts of the Aragvi River, I think that's what it's called, it's where they meet, and it basically looks like two rivers coming together, although it is technically the same river, but because of something underneath, they appear to be completely different colors. So let's go have a look at that. What's known as the Black and White River is simply where two parts of the Aragvi come together, and I'll show a better image of it than what I was able to see here. This happens simply because the White Aragvi flows through clay shales and limestone, giving it a milkier color, while the Black Aragvi flows through dark shale with sediments, giving it that darker hue. Obviously, they eventually form into one, but this was the lookout point I stopped at along the military road to check it out. We've made it up to the Soviet-Georgia Friendship Monument. The monument itself is pretty beautiful, but honestly, I think these views itself are better. I mean, we are very high in elevation now, deep into the Caucasus Mountains. Here's some of the actual monument itself. Apparently you can rent ATVs. I might see about doing that. What's now called the Russia-Georgia Friendship Monument was built when both countries were Soviet SSRs, and this might have been my favorite stop before reaching the destination. It's also known as the Treaty of Georgiev's Monument, erected in 1983 on the 200th anniversary of said treaty between the Russian Empire and the Kingdom of Georgia. It's a gigantic stone and concrete edifice that overlooks Devil's Valley in the Caucasus Mountains, close to the ski town of Gujari, allowing for some of the best views on the whole trip. The murals depict cultural and historical narratives, put onto 7 towering concrete tiles, further cementing my idea that the bigger seems to be the better here. Surrounding this are of course several souvenir shops, something you'll find in just about any popular stop, and a lot of places to get some food while you soak in the views. I myself found it a good time to stop for a snack.
Yes?
Yep. It's this right. Thank you. And the last stop along the military road would be the Gergeti Cathedral. We're about 5,000 feet above sea level, roughly 8 kilometers from the Russian border, if I remember correctly. So high up here, we're actually surrounded by clouds. Let's go get a closer look at this. Just by the town of Stefan Sminda, which I later learned translates to Saint Stephen, the Sminda being the saint part. Kazbegi simply gets its name from the Kazbeg mountain, as described by a local I later spoke to. Kazbeg is actually one of the highest peaks in all of the Caucasus, part of why it was so chilly. Gergeti Trinity Church sits atop a once active volcano where Georgia's Prometheus was said to be chained. According to Georgian folklore, a hero named Amirani stole fire from the hands of God and was punished by being chained up these slopes. The church sits at an astounding 2,170 meters or 7,120 feet above sea level. Kind of like the both measurements use the same number digits. If you want to reach Gergeti from the town, it would take roughly 2 hours by foot, or you can just drive up the super windy road like I did. It's open daily from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. The 14th century church has a separate bell tower, and most of the original walls remain despite abandonment in Soviet times, allowing its simplicity to feel frozen in time. A monk named Gabriel constructed this using stone and wood, and the insides include some artifacts. Oftentimes, these were built high into the mountain to make it harder for an enemy nation to launch an attack on the buildings. Mount Kazbeg, which is part of where Kazbegi, the other name for Stefan Sminda, actually gets its name. If we pan over this way, through all the clouds, you can actually see right about there is the border of Russia. I'm going to drive and get a closer look at that maybe later tonight or tomorrow morning as well. And time to see my Airbnb for tonight's stay. I'm going to be honest, this door was an absolute pain in the ass to get open, but a guy in very broken English helped me out. Looks pretty nice on the outside, I do say. Yes, I hear you. All right. Wow, look at this. Very cozy. That's cool. Now I can't shut the door. It's like I can't use doors around here. See, light. It's not a light. Look at all this. Ooh, full bathroom. Nice. Cozy looking bed. Little corner and a TV. Can't complain. Walking around Stefan Sminda, it's actually very chilly. Obviously it's dark and we're up in the mountains, so that makes sense, but it is funny how much it contrasts where we were just 2 or 3 hours earlier. Basically, I'm going to go out. As far as being in the town itself, I don't think there's a whole lot to do, so I'm going to go out and look for something to eat and drink, and probably walk back, and it'll be about time for me to crash out. Decided to try out a different type of khinkali for this one, and it actually just uses potatoes and cheese on the inside, and they provide butter with it. Also had to get myself a whiskey sour. They always taste good in other countries. Cheers. It's very dark now and very cold, but with all of that, I think we're going to put an end to this video. That was overall great first taste of Tbilisi and Georgia as a whole with the military highway, and we'll return with another video. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think.